Today, I want to address a very common question that I get pretty much every week, and that is cortisol the reason why I'm struggling to lose weight? First of all, let's address the elephant in the room. Cortisol is a hormone that gets produced more often in your body than not when you're feeling stressed. Now, if you're an everyday person, you probably get stressed from regular things like maybe trying to pay your bills, trying to get to work on time. Maybe you get stressed because your dog decided to pee in the bed for the 5th time in the week. And if you're like me, you might get stressed when you realize that your last Instagram post didn't get more than 30 likes. Jokes aside, you're going to be dealt some level of stress in life, which means your body's going to produce cortisol. But there is actually not a link between cortisol in itself and you gaining extra body fat, because the only way that your body is going to gain extra body fat is if you have a surplus of calories coming into your body. Without there being a surplus of calories coming into your body cannot store extra body fat. Now, this is where nuance is important, and this is why these longer videos or podcasts can be really helpful to a lot of people. Cortisol has side effects to it when it gets high in the body, and some of those side effects might make you more prone to having the kinds of behaviors that will lead you to gaining weight. Those side effects is going to be you're going to probably feel an increased sense of appetite and you're going to have more cravings. More often than not, when people have high cortisol, they're going to crave things like sugary foods and fat food. And what both those things have in common is foods that are really high in sugar and really high in fat are often really high in calories. So without realizing it, because you're feeling stressed, your body's finding a way to try and deal with that stress. It's looking for that energy, so you start eating more calories. And if you do that for a long period of time, and maybe you have a stressful job and you're doing that every day, then it can become really hard to lose weight. But if you were tracking your calories and you were trying to get some exercise in and you were mindful about how much you move every day and you were making sure that you're getting your steps up really high, then chances are you would still be losing weight, because if you get your body to be in a calorie deficit, regardless of how high your cortisol is, you will start to lose fat. Another reason why people say that high levels of cortisol is also going to make you fat is because quite often it's been shown that cortisol can promote being fatter around the midsection and basically storing more fat around your belly. Now, when I'm saying this, they're referring to visceral fat, and that once again is the fat that goes around your organs. And this fat can be really damaging to you as far as your health is concerned, because when the organs are squished and they have lots of extra pressure from the fat around them, it can make it harder for them to function. It is just harder for your body overall. But, and this is what you need to hear, if you are in a calorie deficit, your body will start to lose fat from all over its body. And in time, you will start attaching into those visceral fat stores. The other thing to address is that cortisol will affect your blood sugar levels. And basically, when your blood sugar levels are high and you feel those insulin spikes, you're also going to get those hunger cravings, because every time your blood sugars go up, then they're going to go back down. And every time they're down, you're going to feel really tired, maybe moody, you're going to feel low in energy. So you're going to try and grab something to try and bring your energy back up. And once again, whether you realize it or not, your body is really smart, and it will choose foods that are high in calories, that are high in sugar, to try and get energy going through the system once again. So again, it's not the cortisol itself, but it's some of the side effects that it's giving you that could be affecting you with your hunger, that then leads you to having more calories. But if you were mindful with tracking your calories, this would not be happening. Now, the last thing that I need to address is that cortisol is a steroid hormone. There are two types of hormones. You have anabolic and you have catabolic. And because it's catabolic, it can break muscle away. Now, what you need to understand about this is that you're not just going to be walking with high cortisol levels and feeling stress and just melting your muscle away. This only happens in a very small amount when people have really high levels of cortisol for a very extended period of time. And now you're probably wondering, now that you know what cortisol does and whether it makes you fat or not, what should you do from here? You should do the same thing that you're doing all the time if you are trying to lose weight. And that is, you should be aware of how many calories your body needs to be eating to be in a calorie deficit. And you should find a sustainable way that allows you to stay in that deficit for a long enough time that you can start seeing good progress. Now, remember, your deficit doesn't have to be extreme for you to see progress, and you need to be able to hold it for a long time so you to see good progress. The reason why most people struggle to be able to stay in a deficit is because they choose a deficit that is far too challenging for them, and they give up on it, and then they go through the yo-yo cycle of dieting over and over and over again. So what I would recommend is that you find a deficit that you can stay with for a long enough period of time for you to actually see good results. Make sure that that deficit isn't so large that you can't stick to it. And over time, you're going to notice that you can start losing weight and that cortisol will no longer be a problem in your life. Now, this isn't to say that we should just neglect cortisol and just never think about it again, but For the everyday person that's probably just a little bit stressed and is probably also eating too many calories, you need to put your effort and attention towards making sure that you stay in a calorie deficit for a period of time, let's say 6 to 12 weeks, so you start seeing some good results. And if you stay in a deficit and you've counted everything the right way and your weight isn't moving and you're exercising and you're lifting weights, then maybe there's a different issue.